Anyways, let's move on to the final position rankings for the starters. The top 30 starting centers in the NBA for 2016 going into 2016.
You mean we're not going to rank all 30 water boys or all 30 trainers?
Starters.
Okay.
This is our last starting position.
I don't know. The ball boy is pretty much a starter nowadays.
Anyways,
with that water bottle.
That was a bad joke. Anyways, again, got to preface this every time we do this. These are not our rankings. We went to realgm.com.
Well, there are rankings, not our
it's not our depth charts.
Not our depth charts. We went to realgm.com, went to their depth charts, and put the players in who's starting at that position. So these are the centers according to realgm.com.
Yeah, who they think is going to be starting as of right now.
.com. If you have a problem with them, fuck off. Anyways, let's get into this.
So I feel like Real GM should pay us at some point for all this advertising.
Well, actually, people hate Real GM, so
you're telling me Bismack Biyombo is not going to be in these rankings?
Out of all 7 of the Magic starters, no, he did not make it in there.
No, 10. They have 10 starters. 10 legit starters.
Well, I forget the math. There's too many. There's too many to remember. Anyways, let's get into this. We kind of attacked this.
Check that off the box. Sean, dish the magic.
Yeah, where's the Bulls reference? Anyways, last week we kind of attacked the power forwards different. We did who's going to make it into the top 10 by the end of the season, who's going to fall out of the top 10 by the end of the season. We're also going to say who is, and we'll just talk about the top 10 in general, and we're going to attack that the same way for center. So out of the guys who did not make the top 10, also in the description down below, we have our rankings for you to follow along at home. Mm-hmm. But to you guys, out of the guys that aren't in the top 10, who do you think are the guys by the end of the year that can jump into that top 10?
Look, I want to preface this by kind of giving you a little bit of our mindset when we were trying to put these lists together. Center feels like it's one of the toughest positions to judge in a bubble.
It was for me, yeah.
They're so dependent on their team and the system around them, and you can't just plug in guys anywhere for them to work. And
they need to be fed the ball.
You got to feed the beast.
Yeah, you got to feed them.
But at the same time, it's like I feel like if you put X guy into Y team, it could maybe work, but other times it absolutely won't, and we'll see completely disappointing results.
It's like the example I used to you guys when I said this. I was thinking about it. It's kind of like you look at Dwight Howard. Why do you only have 13 points again? Oh, he played with fucking James Harden, the ball hawk. Why did Brook Lopez have over 20? He played in Brooklyn where they have tumbleweeds.
He's also a decent scorer, though.
They have tumbleweeds in Brooklyn.
He's still a decent scorer, though.
Jay-Z doesn't play. He sits in the stands. You know that,
he's
right?
still a decent scorer.
Yeah, Jay-Z's probably third option on offense, to be honest with you.
Blue Ivy's for.
The point is the Nets aren't that good. That's why they have to rely on him more. Look at
he's still a good scorer.
Yeah, no.
Like I look at Steven Adams, who's actually a guy that I am gonna go into. Is probably going to maybe could get into the top 10 after this year. He's a guy last year had guys like Westbrook, Durant. And now this year, maybe without Durant, we see a bigger role from him.
Another thing you said yesterday, too, is Anthony Davis is still Anthony Davis no matter what team you put him on. Mm-hmm. And a guy, I forget the example you used.
Draymond.
You used Draymond Green. Draymond Green would not be the same Draymond if on a different team besides the Warriors. Mm-hmm. A lot of these guys fit that mold, and especially...
it's the position. It's the nature of the position.
Yeah. And
when you don't have the ability to have the ball in your hands all the time, you can't bring up the court with you. Then you're reliant on your teammates and you're reliant on whatever direction the coach wants to take the team in. If they just decide that, you know what, we're going to play around the arc. We're not going to really feed you down low. You just kind of soak up rebounds.
And
that's your thing.
I don't know about you guys, but when I looked at the stats, the ones that I focused on it was like points per game I looked at, but I didn't take too huge a stock in it. Mm-hmm. I looked at their percentage, just flat out field goal percentage. I kind of said fuck you to the 3-pointer.
I kind of don't.
Even though I know some centers can stretch out.
Yeah.
I looked at the field goal percentage, your total rebounds, and your blocks. And then I looked at turnovers and how many fouls you force.
I also
because you're the blocking force in the lane.
For centers though, I also don't really look at the shooting percentage that much because
I think you need to.
But also
if you're shooting low 40s from
low
the
40s
field
is different. But
but if you're shooting low 40s from the field, that's different from someone that shoots 70%.
Like DeAndre Jordan, he's having historic seasons shooting 70%, but also he's 3 feet from the fucking basket.
Fits
Max.
the system, like we were saying.
Exactly, and we'll get to that later. But I'm just saying, like, I don't take it into consideration that much. So if it's a guy who's averaging 26 points and a guy who's averaging 21 points, the guy who's averaging 21 shooting like 60%, and the guy who's shooting 26% or is scoring 26 and shooting like 50%, I'm gonna get it to the guy who's scoring 26.
A lot of it's just the numbers don't tell the whole story in these cases. As much as we love to point to numbers and be like, you know what, that guy's better stats across the board, he's a better player. A lot of this comes down to the eye test.
Yeah,
when you watch them play, when you watch them function within their team.
And it still doesn't matter what you say, Dave. Even if that is correct, we're still going to get roasted in the comments. And I know the one guy that is going to get roasted in the comment. We're going to get roasted in the comments for having so low.
You just can't let the Magic fans have a date.
Is Jokic from the Nuggets. I think that people are really high on him. We have him at 16, and
He's got a lot to prove to me.
And if we're talking about guys that are going to jump into the top 10, I definitely think he can make that move because he definitely came out of nowhere last year, and he was good in his first season last year, and I think he can make that jump up to it. And he's decent shooting wise. I want to see his defense come around a little bit. I want to see him step up more and more and more, just as a player. But if he can become that second option for the Nuggets, or even a first option for the Nuggets, and Moutier can just be facilitating the ball to him, and he can dish it out to Jamal Murray for threes and stuff like that. But I think Jokic can get into that top 10 for sure, especially with a guy like Paul at 9. If Paul cannot finally stay consistent and he does get old enough and his body breaks down, I think that Jokic can make that jump into the top 10.
Everybody that we have between 11 and then where we have Jokic at 16, all of them are kind of, I'd use the word ebb and flow of, yeah, they can get up into the top 10, but they could also fall. And like with me, Gortat's a guy who could fall because Bradley Beal, if he stays healthy,
we expect
that's
him
another
to get
player
a little,
out there, especially a guy who wants to be an alpha dog and everything. But Valanciunas, like, if he starts playing up to some Bismack Biyombo levels, that we saw in Toronto,
now that Bismack's not standing in front of him, taking all the time.
Yeah, taking all that time when Valanciunas is injured. But we also got Vucevic, who Vucevic, that's it.
Come on,
him for
Orlando fans are hate us.
Well, it's him for Draymond, right? Just trade him for Draymond straight up. That's the fair trade.
Yep.
It's like these guys can move in. I think Rudy Gobert is out of our ranking, he's the he's the easy answer because he's right there.
Gobert is like just on the other side of that, just on the other side of the window. He's like, come on, guys.
One guy
just give me a little crack.
One guy that I think people are going to be pissed off as well is Nerlens, and I think with Nerlens
it's tough.
With Nerlens, it's just he's not on a good team.
This is where the Sixer fans type.
It's the fact that they've got 5 fucking centers.
Dave wants Embiid. He wants Embiid in these rankings.
but also real quick, like. You just kind of defended the Sixers not being good. The Sixers suck.
Oh, no. I'm not saying that they don't.
It's not just that they're a bad team. It's just that they also have 5 centers.
I'm just saying the fact that they have 5 centers is the biggest detriment. Mm-hmm. You can be a great player on a bad team and stand out still, like Brolo, but if you're in a position where you're splitting time so much and it diminishes your role, it diminishes your time, it's harder to make the case to put you in the top 10 if you can't even make the case to separate yourself from your own teammates to earn that full-time starting role. So, look, Nerlens Noel is a defensive monster. He can get you double-doubles and a couple blocks a night, and I love him.
Very athletic player, too.
But
doesn't have a great shot, but he's one of those guys who can dominate
his shot's terrible,
underneath.
He's still a twig. He's got to continue playing on weight to build up, but right over his shoulder, you've got the workout machine, the offseason monster, and Joel Embiid, who looks like he's about to just come in and just break people in half. Like, that's the guy I'm excited for. I almost put him on the list in my top 10 without him playing a single game in the NBA. Just hype, pure hype.
You love Joel Embiid, though. You love Joel Embiid.
I love him coming out of college. Like, it's a smart move. You're going to have him when he's healthy. Nah, that'll happen never.
Well, can I throw this out?
Yeah,
Sean,
go.
I'll throw this at you. Just this stat line, tell me if this sounds good to you. 11 points per game, 8 rebounds a game, shoots about 52% from the field, turns the ball over about 2.4 a game.
But he does about just under 2 assists as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's that kind
Is
of
that
balances.
Nerlens?
That is Nerlens.
Nerlens was on the worst team in the NBA, though.
And he played, that's an average of 29 minutes a game.
Yeah, but
year.
he also probably won't be the center. He might even go to power forward. I mean, they can flip-flop so much there.
So many options.
I just feel like Nerlens, if he was on a different team, he would be a different player. I feel like he would be moving up. I don't think he's going to move up this season just because the 76ers suck. But I think Nerlens can be a person later on who can get up there because he can kind of be a person who can develop into like
people out. into other teams? Because that's the Sixers somewhere during this year are going to distribute out some of their talent they've been piling up. And once they make their decision, he's going to go to either he, Embiid, Ja, like somewhere out of this stash of people. They're all going to see better playing time because one of them's not going to be on the team anymore.
Yeah, they got to free something up. I think so too. And one guy I also do want to mention for this as well, a guy who can probably sneak up there as well would probably be Steven Adams. You kind of touched on that, Ricky. I know you wanted to bring him up.
His role's going to change. Not necessarily change. It's just going to be, what is this team going to be now that Durant's not there? And yes, Russell Westbrook. I keep wanting to say Russell Wilson whenever I think of him.
You're in football
He's
mode.
the one that is going to be the number one, the alpha. But now after we got to see I'm going to even say coming out party in the playoffs.
It absolutely was.
Steven Adams and the stash. You got to see him singing in the back of the car too. That was a great hat tip to Dave who sent that to us.
That's the duo that I love is running Adams and Cantor together. And I think that, they're all concerned like, oh, you can't have two bigs on the floor. Da, da, da. No, it doesn't fucking matter because if there's a fast break, Russell just take it himself.
Yeah, seriously.
He ain't waiting for anybody else.
And Steven Adams is such a monster on the defensive side, and then you got Cantor, who when the offense is set up and you're not running down the floor,
he will just destroy you. His shot is so sick, and he's growing. Everybody's like, no, there's no chance he's never going to play defense. He's actually improved quite a bit defensively, and now his contract seems totally reasonable. And today's weird, funny money world, as Ricky calls it.
It's funny money. That's all it is.
He's getting more money than Mozgov, who's last on our list, I believe.
You know who's an interesting one?
Second to last.
And I just
he's still getting more than the guy who's last is getting more money than him, anyways.
The one I want to mention. This isn't a guy who's going to get up in the top 10. This is just a guy who
has potential.
How is he going to potential because he's on a different team is Robin Lopez. And I mean, he's 20 for us, but here's the thing. Wait. Just hear me out.
Yeah,
this is the Bulls reference.
We finally hit our Bulls point.
And here's the thing I think with Robin, and it's going to be the system. I look at Paul Gasol's numbers from last year, 16.5, double-digit rebounds, didn't shoot a good percentage from the field, turn the ball over at least 2 a game. If Rolo can maybe score a few more points than he did last year in a Fred Hoiberg system, haul down some more rebounds, he doesn't turn the ball over as much as Paul Gasol did, and he shoots at a higher percentage. He's a guy that maybe in a new system we could see, some better numbers.
The difference, though, is Paul Gasol is good.
He also has a shot from more than 4 feet away.
Yeah, he's good.
That's why you can play about percentage, but at the same time, Paul gives you that stretchability.
And that's what I'm saying. It's not necessarily, I'm not saying Paul Gasol's bad or anything.
Well, but you're saying if he can live up to somewhere around the numbers, the problem is I don't think he will because of his greedy offense.
And he's not Paul Gasol.
Well, he's not Paul Gasol. That's problem 1.
It's going to hurt him.
2 is the greedy offense the Bulls are going to play with 4 men driving to the hole. It's not going to be comfortable for the one man who's stuck sitting in the paint.
Don't knock it till we see it, man.
I am.
Don't knock it till we see it.
You're tying 4 guys to a pole, and they're just going to run around it, and it's going to be that pole is never going to be able to move.
I'm excited to watch it. To be honest with you,
the Bulls may surprise us this year. We may be thinking train wreck, and it's not going to be an absolute train wreck.
I'm thinking entertainment because this team's going to be just super fun to watch.
It's gonna be like a car accident, but
slow mo.
I don't think it's gonna be like a car accident,
but maybe like a kiddie car accident where it's
those Fisher Price ones.
Yeah, the Fisher Price ones where it's they crash and they fall into a pool.
And
it's funny. They're wearing Dwayne Wade jerseys. It's cute. I feel
I don't see it.
Train wreck.
I don't see it.
Anyways, let's move into the top 10 guys who could fall off. And we kind of touched on it. Paul Gasol. Throwing him out. The good Gasols at 9 and 10. Mark, I love him. I think he should be higher on this list. I had him the highest out of all of us, but they
credit to you. We disagree because the man needs to stay healthy.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. If he can stay healthy,
and he's not the pure one on their team.
It was the same disagreement we had with MKG in the other video.
Well, no, MKG definitely has more injury history.
Well, yeah,
Paul Gasol's former defensive player of the year. I mean, he's proved himself.
Mark.
MKG hasn't proved.
But
Marcus.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing with Marc Gasol, and I'm just gonna throw this out there. Dave mentioned earlier the eye test. Does Marc Gasol only look as good as he does because he's playing next to a guy in Zebo? That is the one thing I looked at was he's got a guy like Zebo next to him.
That doesn't matter. He's fantastic in general.
But when you have someone next to you,
I would say the opposite.
His stats will go up if you take Zebo out, but I don't know. That makes them a worse team.
I say flip that, though. I say Zach Randolph looks better because he's got Marc Gasol next to him. I think that's the thing there is that Marc Gasol is the better player there. It's not because Zebo's there, and I think that Zebo's fantastic in his own right, but I think just Marc Gasol is a great player. I just think he doesn't get enough credit, and when he's on the court, he's great.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's unfortunate that he's in a city that no one cares about basketball-wise, and, they don't get much media attention, so it's a bummer, and that's why Paul is hired, because, look, Paul's played in L.A., Paul's played in Chicago, and now he's in San Antonio, and he has been doing it his entire career. He gets that outside shot, he's a big man in the paint.
Even look at this. Marc Gasol in his first year, the only year he played without Zach Randolph was in 2008 when it was his rookie year. Played 82 games, started 7 for 4 of them, only played 30 minutes, shot 53% from the field, 11.9 points per game, but only shot 8 field goals a game, had 7 rebounds, 2 assists. Basically, he had the same average where he does now. So I think that if you put it like per 36 minutes, I'm pretty sure it would be around the same way or same area. I don't think Zach Randolph makes him that much better.
Fair enough. But no, I still got both the Gasols possibly falling out of the top 10 because
I do too.
Age and health. I mean, it's just at some point it's going to happen.
Yeah, and guys like Rudy Gobert and Vucevic too. Vucevic might take a jump scoring wise.
I think we all kind of tend towards the younger end of the scale when it comes to like. I really do believe in this next younger generation because they're just so much more athletic, and I think that their level of energy and athleticism really lends themselves to this fast-paced game that we're getting into nowadays, where Paul Gasol and Mark both kind of had that the Euro play style where they're very smooth with the ball. They're very good with the offense, motions, everything you need to do, but they couldn't keep up with the pace of the game in today.
But with that being said, then, would Paul maybe not fall out because he's going to a place where that Euro style has thrived in San Antonio?